there, welcome to Andaaz. Andaaz is an inspirational talk show brought to you from the United States, and we bring you fabulous stories from around the country every single week. This week we're talking about parenting, a subject that all of you are curious about, and everybody wants to know how to raise their kids to be the leaders of tomorrow. Well, today we're going to touch upon the perfect way to do that. I know all of you parents out there have a dream that your child grows up to be a well-rounded, perfect individual that's a leader, making lots of money, going to the great universities. And to fulfill that dream in this competitive environment, we have our kids running around like crazy. I mean, after-school swimming, tennis, specialized math courses, dance class, music class. I don't think parents really realize what that's doing to their children. Well, we talked to Dr. Shefali in New York City about how to be present with your children and raise them to be well-rounded, holistic individuals. Let's go check it out.
Parents, few hold a greater power or more immense a responsibility. And this is why I'm here today, to propose that we occupy the role of parenthood in an entirely different way, with a renewed curiosity, a heightened awareness, a transformed commitment.
Hi, Dr. Shefali. Welcome to Andaaz.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Of course. You know, I saw your talk at TEDx a while back, and that's what inspired me to have you on the show. I mean, you really have a good knack of parents and how they should raise their kids to be happy and successful and be raised in a family full of love. So tell me a little bit about your research, your clinical research, and how you came to this notion of raising your kids with love.
Well, it's more than raising your kids with love. It's really how to introduce the element of consciousness in parenting. Because a lot of parents come to me with troubled relationships with their children, and they all really love their children. So I often tell them, love is not in question here. You unequivocally love your children, but what gets in the way is your level of consciousness. And what I mean by that is how aware you are as a person, as a parent, of the emotional baggage you carry with you from your childhood. You know, you can only give as much as you've been given. Right. You can only teach emotional literacy or emotional worthiness to the degree to which you are emotionally worthy, emotionally whole. So no matter how much you love your children, but if you're loving from a broken place or from your wounds, then ultimately, exactly, it comes across.
We cannot expect our children to embody an enlightened consciousness if we parents haven't dared to model this ourselves. It all starts with us and how we parent.
We all have expectations out of our children. Well, I'm guessing I will when I have children.
Right. We have huge expectations, you're right.
And what if they don't fulfill our expectations and end up on their own journey in life? How do we come to terms with that and accept our children for who they are?
We start off on a false assumption that our children should follow our expectations and meet our needs and fulfill our dreams. That's just a faulty start. The presumption that the child is here to even remotely meet our expectations is a faulty one.
Right.
It's an illusion. It's a delusion. So we start off from a parental delusion. No wonder things just go downstream. If we started with the understanding that we are just the vessels for the child to come into their own knowing, into their own potential, then we just engage very differently than in the other way.
What advice do you have for parents that want their kids to grow up to be members of this community that are changing the world, making a big impact without forcing them into it? How can they inspire their children?
The only reason we parents hold that ideal is because we're coming from a place of our own lack. We are needy. We want our child to kind of make us feel good, to add on to our image of ourselves. This is what parenting has tragically become reduced to. All about the parent feeling good about themselves because they're coming from a place of emptiness, lack, negativity. But instead, if you step away from this approach and move into the conscious parenting approach, where you understand that all my needs and all my longings need to be filled by myself. My child owes me nothing except to be their best, and my sacred obligation to my child is to usher them, surely to guide them, but I can only guide them towards this if I come from a place of abundance and wholeness and truth and authenticity. The parameters of success have become so narrow.
So narrow.
And we're kind of just creating sheep out of our children. We're actually creating conformity without even realizing we are.
We're not creating the innovators and the entrepreneurs and the artists of tomorrow. We're creating the people that are just going to mechanically go into a job.
There's a great risk to conformity. You know, you rob your child of authenticity, and when you rob your child of authenticity and train them to always look behind their back for guidance or up to someone for information, for values, for knowing, then you just...
And they're not leaders.
Then they don't know how to create that within themselves. So it takes patience from the parents, it takes a stepping back, a detachment of the ego, and a trust that this is what raises a successful human being, not the other way.
So how do parents complete themselves first?
Well, that
before having children or before raising their kids?
Well, you know, it's not a necessarily linear process of, you know, let me first become complete and whole and then I'll have children, because that journey towards wholeness anyway is a lifelong journey. But instead, how can we see children as one of our greatest motivators for this growth? Traditionally, parenting has been seen as, you know, the parent is in this hierarchical position, in this superior position, and we do unto our children.
Right.
And my approach is to turn the paradigm on its head, to shift things, and instead see children as the greatest motivators of our growth. They're here to usher that emotional growth and wholeness that I was talking about. So every time when a parent is in an emotionally reactive state with their children, in that moment, it's not about the child. It's about the parent's reactivity, which comes from the parent's past. And this is the opportunity in the moment, not for the parent to control and dominate the child, but instead to see the child as a mirror of the reflection of the past wounds and go, this is happening because of my agenda, because of my baggage. I can choose to now heal it, or I can choose to continue roughshoding over my child and pretend like the child is the problem.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Shefali. It's just been so eye-opening talking with you today, and I hope parents out there are inspired to raise complete and whole, beautiful children.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you, Shefali. I definitely think conscious parenting is the way to raise our children. Next, we talk to a great entrepreneur, Naveen Jain, who has raised his 3 kids to be the leaders of tomorrow. Let's go check out how he does it.
As a parent, the best thing you can do for your children is really to expose them to all the possibilities. Before you let them make up their mind, you have to let them know what's out there. If they make up their mind too soon, then they probably have missed out on the biggest opportunity. Expose them to everything before they make up their mind, and love them, because a child who is not loved is a child who is bound to fail. Talk to your child, be their friend, expose them to everything, and just love them.
Andaaz, brought to you by Basic Ayurveda, your source for Ayurvedic juices. Piatek Institute, the art of medicine, the science of weight loss. Andaaz, brought to you by Gehi and Associates, for all your immigration matters. Silk Threads, the name says it all.
Thanks, Naveen. I definitely love your advice about exposing children to all different fields in life. And with Shefali's advice about being present, it is now time to go in and nourish your child's soul so that they can grow up to be loving and peaceful human beings. We talk to the Art of Living about just that.
Stand with us for a violence-free, stress-free lifestyle. Visit stressfreeviolencefree.org. Everybody on the floor, touching you, my baby, makes me lose control. Your body's what I'm needing. Girl, it's for you I'm feeling.
So today, kids have so many things going on. They have their swimming practice, they have tutoring, they have school, and they're juggling all these things at once, and it makes for kind of a stressful lifestyle for them. How do you think that children or parents should infuse spirituality into their lives?
You know, it's a very beautiful question that you ask. I do see that around me, children don't have any time for themselves. And what I see spirituality is to be the taking a little bit of time for themselves and being the spirit that they are. And today, going from class to class, children absolutely don't have any time at all. Right. And I teach children from ages 8 to 13-year-olds. And when they come to my class, the first thing they say is, Mrs. Bhavani, can we just sit and do nothing? Doing nothing and simply relaxing a little bit. And that you can do it through meditation, or they can do it with just a simple walk in the nature, doing nothing but just observing what is in front of them, the little flower or little bee or a little dragonfly.
And maybe just taking a step back for themselves.
Exactly.
There's kids out there, I mean, we've been dealing with so many things with gun violence and different things that have been going on in the US recently. And do you think that it's because maybe they're not spiritual or they're not well-rounded that these things happen? And how could you tell parents out there that maybe if they did infuse spirituality into their children, maybe they will become more humble and more well-rounded individuals that live a loving and peaceful life?
The reason for today's violence, it's not the children not being in spirituality, but it is the parents not being in spirituality. Parents know what they need to do, but the reason that they don't do those things is because they themselves are very stressed out. You know, in the daily routine that they run to the office and work and everything, their own mind is racing, and so they are not, even though they know how to communicate with their children, most of our language is very violent communication. When I say violence, I don't mean it in the physical sense of violence, but the words that communicate create a lot of turbulence in the mind that is equally violent. One of the parents, first thing he said was like, can we ask all the parents to take their violent video games from their children? Yeah. That's the first thing that came out. I was very impressed with that because those are all the things that they instill violence. Now, the reason is like when you're constantly shooting with a gun, when you constantly see blood on the computer screen that is going, the children become insensitive to violence.
But how would you tell these parents, instead of pushing things upon their kids to be spiritual and to be religious, how would you kind of teach them to nurture their kids and let their kids grow and learn it on their own?
That's the number one thing. I mean, across the board that I've been teaching now for over 500 parents I've reached out to, the common theme is the parents have to do something about it first before they can come to the kids. You know, it's like in the plane. Put your own oxygen mask first before you put it on somebody else.
Yeah, that is true.
This is absolutely true when it comes to parenting. Yeah. You look at one point in front of you that doesn't move, and then keep your right foot forward and put your left foot on the knee. And what you do is, if your tree is very stable, then you can put your branches up slowly, and all the way up you can see. You know, I was a very short-tempered person. And
you were? I can't even tell now.
Even my kids don't agree with that now.
Wow.
Very short-fused person. And so I started doing the breathing techniques, and then within a month's time, my daughter came to me and she said, Mom, what are you doing? And whatever you're doing is working. Can I also learn? Now, even today in college that she is in, which is not a very conducive environment for spirituality, unfortunately, she still calls me and she says the same thing. Which breathing technique do I use? And I know which breathing technique. Same thing with my teenage son also. But then even my daughter, when I pushed her to do it, she went far away from it.
Because that's the normal reaction that kids always want to rebel against their parents.
But then when I did it without telling her, and I just encouraged her to doing it, she came back to it herself. And expanding your stomach completely and contracting your stomach for about 1 to 2 minutes fully. Put 9 to 10 breaths like that. It calms the parents down.
Yep.
And the child down. It's a lot more easy to communicate.
Already in a matter of minutes, I feel so much better. This is a great way to start the day, especially over the weekend with your kids.
It's hardly, what, 2 to 3 minutes would have done.
And it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We learned so much from you. And we had a lot of fun, right?
Did you have fun, sweetie? Yeah.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhavani and Isha. I really loved those yoga moves for children. I think I might do them myself. And remember, it only takes 5 minutes for you to do that with your child at home, and you will see improvement in their lifestyle right away. And next, we talk to our favorite doctor, Dr. Jay Piatek. He gives advice to parents on how to raise their kids to be healthy and fit. Let's go take a look.
Sure, Sarka. Parents play such a vital role. They have absolute control over what comes into the house. For instance, children don't have the ability to get in a car, drive to the store, take out a wallet with their money, and go buy all the food and stock it back at home. Parents are responsible for that. It is so important that they make the right food choices. They are the #1 role model for these children. All these obese children have the predisposition, but then they have the bad environment. Many times I see actually the family all do well in weight loss. When the father diets with the son, both of them do well. There's almost a competition in the family. So together with training parents, they can all live a healthy, fulfilling lifestyle.
Andaaz, brought to you by Basic Ayurveda, your source for Ayurvedic juices. Piatek Institute, the art of medicine, the science of weight loss. Andaaz, brought to you by Silk Threads. The name says it all.
Thanks, Jay. That's so true. When you see these poor children that are obese, I mean, they're not out there buying their own food. It's the parents' responsibility to make sure that their child is eating healthy and nutritious. In our community, a lot of us tend to focus on math and science, and what we neglect is public speaking. It is very important to nourish that skill within your children. If you want your children to be the CEOs of tomorrow, the leaders in politics, or for them to be able to express their thoughts, nurturing confidence and public speaking from a young age is very, very important. Well, we talked to Rennu Dhillon from Genius Kids, who has developed a public speaking program that is building our leaders of tomorrow. Let's take a look. Well, I'm here with Rennu Dhillon, who just put on a fantastic program where we saw amazing kids get up on stage, showcase their talent, and show their confidence. And this is all because of Miss Rennu. You know, I just want to say that what I'm impressed with the most is how smart and intelligent these kids are, how confident they are, and how they're actually thinking about the future. I mean, what in your curriculum is getting them to do that?
I think the most important thing of our curriculum is our public speaking. And that is what I try and emphasize. And I wish we could have had more entries in public speaking. I think there's so much focus done on dancing and singing and painting, and that's all great. But I think going forth, for anything to change in this world, people need to learn to express their thoughts and their views. And you heard some of the kids out here, they were amazing about the topics of how to make the world a better place.
Our country needs help. Trillions of dollars in debt.
We believe at Genius Kids that we do not want to create a cubicle engineer, no offense to Silicon Valley, but we want to create the Steve Jobs. And that's what all these programs are about, to just waken the little genius in that child, because everybody's a genius. Every single one of us is already a genius. We just have to get that tweaked. We've got to wake up that fire in us, ignite that fire, and that's the purpose of these shows.
Cars use up a lot of precious fuel and energy and pollute our air. Walking, hiking, biking, and taking public transportation will greatly reduce this problem. And what's more, you will become healthier and fitter too.
What should parents do at home to kind of ignite that genius in their child? Because I know, especially in our culture, a lot of parents tend to suppress it. I mean, you see a lot of kids that tend to be shy and introverted. But what should our parents do at home?
Stop putting unnecessary pressure on your child. It's not about being first. It's all about participation. And most importantly, I would say, is engage with your child at home. These iPods and iPads are great tools, but for me, they're creating what I refer to as the autistic kid. The kid that wants to sit like this and just move their finger. Engage your child, speak to them, take every opportunity to speak to them in the car, speak to them when you're going to school, back from school. Make them think out of the box. Ask them when you do a painting, why would you make the sky blue? Why don't you make it another color? And why would you have picked that color? So I'm all about encouraging them to speak their mind.
Teachers like Victoria Sato helped save the lives of several kids that day. They deserve to be remembered for their bravery.
We need to stop this competing with every single person and focus on our own child and wake up, talk to them about sex, talk to them about violence, talk to them about drugs, and make your kids your friends. And that's how we're going to be able to overcome most of these issues that are happening.
We must seek to change many things, including A, stricter gun control laws, B, banning overly violent video games, and C, increasing the availability of mental health resources.
That was very, very well said. So in India right now, I feel like they need a genius kids. What message do you have for Indians out there in India on parenting, and how can it spread in India? What thoughts do you have on that?
Celebrate womanhood. Celebrate the birth of a girl. Get over this whole boy thing. I don't get it. Today, women are more successful, sometimes far more successful than men. And I'm not putting down any men, okay? But I'm all about women empowerment. And I think we really need to wake up. In most of the Asian countries, I don't want to put down India, Asian philosophy overall, they think that the name of the family is going to be taken only with the son. Why not? I use my father's name. I go by Rennu Dhillon. What's wrong with using your own name? There's nothing in this book that says we have to use our husband's name. And teach your kids to be the next leader.
Isn't it a miracle that the Earth, which is a minuscule part of this solar system, has been spinning tirelessly every day, and that the sun rises every day and the moon comes out without fail each night, and the entire circle of life is entwined in this cycle.
Well said, Rennu, and thank you so much. Thanks again for coming on Andaaz. Thank you, Rennu. And later on, at the end of the show, you don't want to miss it, we take a look at a winner from her competition. We just love supporting the community and those rising stars. Well, every week here at Andaaz, we have a fabulous find just for you. And we found something great for all of you parents out there. You are just going to love this. All of us want our children to love math and grow up understanding the skills. And we found an online tool that will help you creatively think through math with your child and develop their critical thinking skills. Your child can actually get ahead by even a year from the rest of their classmates. So you want to go to Limbu Math and get your free diagnostic test today. Go check it out. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed our show today. And remember to come back next week for more fabulous guests and inspirational stories. And don't forget to like us on Facebook for great contests and great prizes. And we'll see you next week.
Brought to you by Lawson Travel. Experience the world with us. Andaaz. Brought to you by India One. On-demand marketing. Unirello. Global excellence delivered to your doorstep.
I definitely like your concept of conscious... What?
Definitely.
What can I say that word?
Definitely.
I think I need coffee.